Cool. Now I'm going to speak a little bit about ghost notes. This is probably my favorite topic in this whole DVD with regards to dynamics. I love ghost notes. I dig it. I mean, I sounded a little bit obsessive about the bells, I know, but I promise the ghost notes, I think that's kind of my first love, especially with regards to the snare. I love using grooves, using ghost notes in grooves. It's just such a cool technique to give the groove depth. You don't sound like a robot when you're using ghost notes. To illustrate what they are soft little, delicate little taps on the snare drum in between the main accents. I think what would explain this the best would just to be... But the best way to explain this is just to demonstrate it. So I'll just play a groove between the hi-hat and the snare on the bass drum, and please listen to those little ghost notes. I'll try to make them as prominent as possible. I think towards the end of the groove I'll actually take away the hats and kind of play that on my leg, just so that you hear just the bass drum and the snare drum, and focus on those little ghost notes in between the main accents. So that is what this will sound like played with ghost notes. I think a cool way to practice this is just to play the same beat that I just did, kind of leading with the eighth notes on the hats, and then to play the ghost notes in between the eighth notes, so as the little offbeats. I think if you don't ghost them, if you play them as full strokes, then this is the pattern that I'm talking about. But then just to play the actual one, like the main snare shot, the downstroke, just to play that on the right place as an accent, and then just ghost the other offbeats, just to play them a whole lot softer. So what I would do is I would play the main stroke as a rim shot, to really accentuate it, to make it really loud and stand head and shoulders above the rest of the strokes, and then to play the other strokes as soft as possible, just like gently tapping the head of the drum. It's really easy for me because, like I said in the section where I talk about how my drums are set up, the rim shot is really comfortable for me. It's just a question of dropping my stick down a little bit to get the rim shot and lifting it up a few degrees to get the ghost notes. So I'll play that exact same beat, but this time I'll try to get the gap as big as possible between the actual main snare shot, which is the rim shot, and then the other offbeat little notes in between the eighth notes, which I will then play as ghost notes. So that's what this will sound like. But the key for me with ghost notes is to get them as delicate and as soft as possible, especially to get the contrast as big as possible between the main shots, which in my case is the rim shots, and then the ghost notes, just to get that gap as big as possible, because the bigger the dynamic range, the more depth the groove has. So see if you can get that ghost notes really soft without getting the snare shot too loud. I think that's the key. You shouldn't be whacking the poo out of the snare drum to make it seem like the ghost notes are softer. Just try to get them as soft as possible while playing the rim shot or the main snare shot as a normal rim shot in my case. The next step then would be, instead of playing just one little ghost note, to kind of just play a quick little double stroke. I love playing this before a note on the bass drum. It sounds very cool to me. I heard this for the first time on one of Blink-182 songs. I can't remember exactly which one, but Travis Barker loves using ghost notes, especially before before the kick drum. I'll just play an example for you, and then I'll slow it right down so that you can see exactly where I place that to get the same kind of feel. But I'll start quite up to speed so you can get the feel of the ghost notes. It'll be a quick little double stroke with the left hand, and then I'll slow it right down so you can see how they fit right before the bass drum stroke. So this is an example, slowed way down. So that's what I like to use it, right before a note on the bass drum. Like I said, you can use it anywhere. It can be before a 8th note on the hats. It can be before anything else. It can be before nothing. You can just use the little double stroke wherever you want to. I think it's just a cool little way to spice up the ghost notes. Especially start messing around with different approaches to the ghost note. Don't worry about just going single strokes or just playing the groove that I played. I think it's really important to mess around with them and see if you can't get cool combinations. The thing is, they shouldn't be heard. I think ghost notes, well, they kind of should be heard, but they should be more felt than heard. If you listen to a song and the ghost notes shouldn't pop out at you. You shouldn't be able to distinctly say that's where the ghost notes are. I think it should be more a sense of feeling that you get. That's what I'm talking about when I say it gives a groove a lot more depth. So concentrate on making them more felt than heard. I know that's all hippie and cliche, but I think you know what I'm saying. So ghost notes are more feeling than technical placement for me.